This is the Student Records and Financial Services session. We're going to go over a variety of things, the bill, the charges, your financial aid programs, loan programs, so that you guys are all set for September and your students are set for September. My name is Katie Kosis. I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid in the Butler Building. Also presenting today will be Marty Howell. She's the Director of Student Accounts, and Susan Barber, who is somewhere. She'll be right back. She is our loan coordinator in the financial aid office in Butler. Today we are going to go over a lot of issues, just a few things pretty much just so you know where we are and when we're open. We are in the Butler Building, which is over behind the academic complex. It also has health services in the same building and the campus store. So if you've been to the store, we're just right around the corner. Normal hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then summer hours, which we're in right now, is 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday, and until noon on Fridays, which we all love, really. If you do call on a Friday, of course, afternoon, we will get back to you right away Monday morning, so don't worry about that. 3 offices, we are all housed together, student accounts, records, and financial services. It's a one-stop shop, at least we hope so. So if a student or a parent has any questions, come into the financial aid or the Butler Building, and we'll be able to answer questions on billing, registration, and financial awards, of course. So Marty Howell is going to start it off. She's going to go over the billing process and the charges for tuition, fees, room, board, and then I'll take over for the financial aid part of it, and then we'll go into the loans.
Welcome. It's wonderful to see you all here. Welcome to Niagara. We're very happy to have you. All right. FERPA. You've probably heard about FERPA, but I just want you to know that if you don't have your student fill out the FERPA, I can't even tell you how much you owe. So only the student can give me permission to be able to tell you what's on the bill, how much you owe, and what your payments are. So it's very important that that be completed as soon as possible. Also, communications. We will shortly be sending out information. The primary means of communication with students is through their MyNU email account. So it's extremely important that they check that on a regular basis. We'll be sending out all kinds of different things about different things that they need to complete, things that they need to bring in to us, things that we need for them to look at. It's just a myriad of different things. So that is our primary means of communication. The basic charges, there's block tuition, there's level tuition. Any of the block tuition is between 12 and 18 credit hours. Anything over or under 12 or 18 is $900 per credit hour. The student services fee, as you can see, it covers a myriad of different things, so they're all listed up there. It is charged to every full-time student while they're an undergrad here. There's also a one-time full-time registration fee of $200, and that is only charged one time. The double room rate is $5,800 per semester, and then there's additional charges for single rooms. If a student has an overload charge that's anything over 18 credit hours, it is $900 per credit hour over 18. There are certain lab fees if they're in a particular program. Not all of the chemistry and biology classes have lab fees, but some of them do. There's also a nursing skills fee for anybody who's in the 4-year nursing program. Single room charges, depending on how that room is designed, it could be $450 or $550 per semester. There is a graduation fee, and that's charged the last year before graduation. And parking decals, depending on whether they're commuters or residents, is charged in the fall, and that's for the whole year. Parking fines, library fines, health service charges, and residence hall restoration charges, or judicial fines. Those you may see on a bill. I don't put those there. They are sent to me by the different offices, and they are uploaded onto the bill. I send them out. But I can't take them off, and I can't tell you what they're for because I don't know. So on the back of the bill are the necessary phone numbers that you can contact that particular office and find out what they're about. The residence hall restoration fees, that would be if there's any damages to the room or to the floor. They would divide that between the people in the room, unless they know specifically who did that damage, or everybody on the floor if it's some common area. There is an appeal process for the residence hall restoration fee, also for parking fines, library fines, there's all of that. So if you need to, you can appeal that. The level tuition plan contract is on the screen there, at least parts of it. And if you got that sometime in April or May and you don't have that, you decided that you still wanted to do that, we do have some over on the table. Afterwards, you can sign that up and hand it in if you would like. We do promise that you would not lose money if you sign up for the level tuition plan. That's, you pay a little bit more the first year, the second year you may pay a little bit more, and the third and fourth you would pay less. So yours is always the same, and as tuition goes up, anybody who's not on the level tuition, theirs goes up a little bit every year. So that's entirely up to you. If the student is over 17 or at least 18, they can sign it on their own, or if they're under 18, then parents and students both need to sign it. The board is room and board, that's your meals. Students are automatically on the 10-meal plan, that's the bronze plan, but they can change that at any time for the first 2 weeks, anytime towards the end of August through the first 2 weeks of the semester. They can change their meal plan. A lot of it is how they eat. If they don't get up for breakfast, they may want to do fewer meals in Clay Dining Hall and more on the Gallagher Gold. That's like a debit card where they just run that debit card through and it charges and subtracts it from their balance for what they're buying. This is your first bill, and as you can see, there's only one billing address. So the student is the only one that can tell me where the bill would be sent. If it's a divorce situation and you need to have duplicate copies of the bill, then the student tells me where to send it, and then they make a copy and send it on to the other parent. If you need me to send an official one, the student would have to come in every month and request that. This would be the date, and normally charges are only listed on the bill on the first day of the semester. Doesn't always mean that was when it was actually charged, but that's how it shows up on the bill. Then there's the semester, and this is a description of either the charge or the credit. These are charges in this column, credits in this column, and this is the balance. Also at the bottom are pending financial aid awards. Sometimes you have to complete something for that to be dispersed. Sometimes it has to be past a certain date for it to be dispersed. So we still subtract it from the overall balance, even though we don't have the money and all of the requirements are not met. But we're still expecting that money to come in. Also at the bottom, one thing that you would never see on a bill as a subtraction would be an outside private scholarship, because there are so many different reasons why that wouldn't have come in yet. Sometimes you have to send a bill. Sometimes they need first semester grades. Sometimes you have to send something else, a listing of classes. I don't know what all of the reasons might be. So on the back of the bill, you can put the reason why you're not paying the full amount, or let me know about outside private scholarships. The other thing would be work study. If your student has been awarded work study, I do need a federal regulation requires a work study deferment form with an original signature. So the student does need to fill that out. They can find those online at our website, or they can come over to the office and fill that out. Anything between 10 and 90%, I can put a direct credit to your account. And then I would send you a bill, or a statement rather, every month showing how much I have credited as a deferment, and then every 2 weeks when they get paid, how much has been subtracted from that. They do need to be able to pay off that deferment during the semester. If they're not able to do that, and quite often the first semester they don't, because this is very much a learning process. It's a matter of being able to balance time, putting in enough with studies, getting enough hours at your job. So it does roll over to the next semester. They don't lose it. But let's say that they had $1,100 as a deferment and they'd only made $500. That means that they still owe me $600. So I would give them an additional $500 for the spring semester, and again, they still owe me $1,100. So hopefully in the spring semester, they'd be able to make the difference. This is the back of the bill. In the first box at the top, you would see I'm expecting additional aid. That's if you haven't applied for a PLUS loan, maybe you have another scholarship or something coming in, you would fill that out so that I know that there's a reason why you're paying something different. The middle box means that your financial aid is not complete yet, and that way I would put a note on your account as well. The third box is work study or something else, and even if you check that box, I still must have the signed work study deferment form before I can put up a deferment. And again, at the bottom of the bill are the different phone numbers that you might need to call. Niagara has a payment plan, and we would divide ours into a 20% down payment, although you can make more of a down payment if you wish, and then I would divide the balance, whatever's left, into the 4 monthly payments. So you do have to sign up every single semester. If I have it longer than 4 payments, then I am considered a lender, and I have a lot of reporting requirements to the federal government, and I would prefer not to do that. So it is a down payment and then 4 monthly payments, and that's if you have signed up by the time the first payment is due. Then you would, if you signed up after the bill goes out, you would add $25, divide by 5, and send in that amount. The payment plan bill, it's the same thing. The only difference is I have added the $25 fee and divided by 5. This is our online payment portal. So you can click on payments, make a payment, and that's where you would find payment plans, different, the payment portal. There's all kinds of different things behind there. So you can look there. We do take online checks, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and there's a possibility of American Express. The second bill, you'll notice in blue, there we've added a parking decal. And it's, again, the first day of the semester, even though that's not the day it was charged. It's how it comes up on the bill. And everything has moved from the pending down at the bottom up to an actual credit. So you see that everything is moved except for that pesky Perkins loan. That's one that for some reason seems to get it forgotten. So it's still down at the bottom, which means that the student still needs to do the work study, the Perkins promissory note and the entrance counseling. We would be sending out the first week of August information concerning the Perkins loan. They would need to go to signmyloan.com and complete the master promissory note and the entrance counseling. Perkins is a little bit different than direct loans. The interest rate is fixed at 5%. It is paid by the federal government. The interest that is accrued is paid by the federal government while they're in school. And you have a 9-month grace period on the Perkins. For direct loans, it's 6 months. Penalties. If you don't make your payments on time or notify me that there's a problem, there will be a 2% late fee on the balances due. I understand that life does happen when your student comes to school. So if you need an extra week, if you need an extra month, maybe you're going to make 2 payments next month, something like that, you need to let me know. And I can waive any penalties, but if you don't call me or you don't email me, I don't know that. So it's very important to let me know if something is changing. If payments are not paid on time or they're not up to date, a student would not be able to register in November for next semester. I start sending out hold emails at the end of September, and I send them to the student telling them these are issues that need to be resolved prior to registration. Maybe they need to do their Perkins promissory note, their Stafford loan entrance interview. There's a myriad of different things, or possibly their payments are behind. So I send it out extremely early so they have plenty of time to get all of that taken care of. Also, there would be no transcripts and no diplomas unless the payments are current and the payments or the account is paid in full. So now I'm going to turn it over to Katie for the financial aid section.
What we're going to go over now is the financial aid part of the students' experience here at Niagara. Our goal is to make sure that all the students, everyone who comes, is able to pretty much just focus on their studies and getting involved in sports and clubs on campus. And part of that is making sure that they have all their paperwork completed before school starts, so that they are not a month or two into school worrying about why they don't have their refund or why the money is not on their account. We want to make sure that they are all set. So now that we talked about charges and room and board, we're going to talk about how students can pay for those things. The process, pretty much, for financial aid is you have to apply every year, and it's through the FAFSA form. Hopefully, by now, most of you have filled out the FAFSA form. If not, it's okay. There's still time, but we would like you to get it done as soon as you can so that by when school starts in September, the student has a financial aid package. Once we receive the FAFSA form, each financial aid office at whatever school you have applied to will complete a financial aid package for the student. And here at Niagara, we do send it out by mail to the student and the student's address for their first package and any revisions up to this point. I just want to let you know that starting tomorrow, any changes or any new award letters that go out to students will be going to by email, and they can check it on WebAdvisor. So from now on, award letters will be going to the student. So the student needs to check their MyNU email, and they need to let you know about it. So as Marty said before, the FERPA needs to be filled out so that we can release that information to you if you do call and have any questions on it. But this is a copy or an example of the award letter that the student and you guys have received. It does list the merit scholarship as TAP, an economic grant, which is an institutional grant from the university, subsidized and unsubsidized loan, and a Perkins loan. Now, this might not be what your award letter looked like. Each student is different. It's based upon the FAFSA form and the need that's available. So even though we're going to be talking about several programs, you may not have all these in the student's award letter. For part of the award letter is any missing information that we may still need from the student and parent. Sometimes students get selected for verification. About 30% of our students do. So if you were chosen, don't think that you're the only one. I got chosen every year when I was a student for verification. So every year I had to give copies of tax information and whatnot. It's become a little bit easier these days. They do have the data retrieval process through FAFSA and through the IRS data. You can do that. We recommend you do that. It's the easiest process. However, it doesn't always work. So things that we would need would be the verification worksheet if you're selected, and we would have notified you of that. And you can also check at the end. Martha has our laptop here. We can check on that for you to see if you've been selected or if you owe any forms. The verification worksheet, we will need copies of the students' and parents' W-2 forms if the student or parent worked. If you are self-employed, we would need the Schedule C or Schedule E. And then, of course, the tax transcripts. If you do the data retrieval, you're all set. You didn't change any information. You just submitted it. You're good. If it didn't work, like it doesn't in some situations, unfortunately, we will need copies of the students' and parents' tax transcripts. This is not the 1040. A lot of people get confused thinking that the 1040 that you get filed or that you file with your tax preparer is the tax transcript. It's not. So, and unfortunately, we can't accept the 1040, so you need to request it from the IRS. I will go over that in a second, and you can do it by phone, by email, or online, I should say, or you can call them and request that. It will get mailed to you, and then you have to give that to our office. So tax return transcript process, all you have to do for that is you can go online, irs.gov. You want to order a return or account transcript. If you filed an amended taxes, you need to order both, the return and the account transcript. Otherwise, it's just the return. Make sure that comes to you, and you can scan it to us, or you can just drop it off or mail it in. All right, one of the programs that we're going to talk about today is the TAP program, the Tuition Assistance Program through New York State Higher Ed. It is our grant program in New York State, so you do have to be a New York State resident and have to live here at least a year in order to qualify for this. It is based upon your New York State net taxable income, so there is a cutoff limit for it, but if you are eligible for it, we will, of course, put that onto your financial aid package. So make sure that you check that to see if the application has been filled out, and make sure that it has a new school code on it. What TAP does is that it just takes the first school that's listed on the FAFSA. So if you put down Canisius or UB or whatever, it's going to go to that school and not Niagara. So you need to make sure that our school code is listed as 0560, and that is on that slide as well, which you have in your packet. You can also check on other New York State scholarships on here as well, the Merit Excellence Award and some other ones, but mostly it's going to be used for the tuition assistance program. Some other financial concerns that we're going to go over quickly. Book money. We do include it as part of the cost of attendance for each student, but it's not something that's directly through financial aid. So a student will have to purchase their books on their own with their own money. Please be sure they come prepared for the first day of school or even before the first day, that they have enough money or they've already bought their books. They can rent them through our bookstore in some situations. We estimate about $1,000 a year, about $500 a semester. It's different for each student, depends what classes they're taking. If they're taking biology courses, sometimes they have higher fees for the labs and different things that they have to get for that. So make sure that your student is prepared for that. If they're not prepared, we do have what we call an emergency loan. So it's up to $200 for each student. It's on a case-by-case example, but we try to help out the student if they need extra book money, if they need to get home in an emergency. It's up to $200. What they would do is they come into the financial aid office or the Butler building, and they would meet with Marty Howell, the director of student accounts, and usually we would approve that. And they have 45 days to pay that back. Another thing is satisfactory academic progress. There's two different things. There's one for the university and one for New York State if you have a TAP award. So for the university, that's checked every semester to see if the student is making progress, if they're maintaining a certain GPA. The chart is in the undergraduate catalog. It's also on our website. And then there's another one for New York State that's separate from our university. So they're very close, but there are some small differences. So just make sure that the student is completing at least 12 credit hours per semester, and that they're maintaining usually at least a 2.0 GPA each semester as well as overall. But you can check out, it's on our website under TAP. You can see the chart so that you know what the student has to achieve each semester to make sure that they are eligible for those grants the next semester. We know that situations change. You might fill out the FAFSA and then the next month someone lost their job or a reduction in income. We know it happens, so we are always here to help. What you can do is that you can contact our office and ask for a special circumstance form if you've had something happen. You will have to talk to one of our financial aid counselors, and then we'll approve for that form to be sent to you. You have to fill it out, provide any supporting documentation that it asks for, and we will try our best to make sure that we are able to accommodate you and see if there's any additional financial assistance that the university can provide. And also, as I did mention it before, the FAFSA is a yearly process. I know, woo, you got it done the first year, you think you're good. You are for the first year, but you do have to do it every year in order to receive those grants and scholarships and your loans. So make sure that your student pays attention and you pay attention to the deadlines. It's January 1st of every year is when you can start filling out the FAFSA. For returning students, we say don't worry about it usually until after you file your taxes. So March, April is when we would like you to fill it out for next year, for 14-15, which I know is scary to say, but for next year. So make sure that the student's paying attention, and we will put it in the parent newsletter as well, so make sure you sign up for that. And any future communications, I know Marty mentioned it already, will be going directly to the student through their MyNU email. They have to be checking this. I know they might think they're going to get bombarded, but it's important information that we are sending out. So they can forward it on to you. If you're on their FERPA, you can call our office and we can tell you about their billing, about their financial aid, about any current concerns you may have. So that's all I have to go over for right now. I'm going to switch it over to Sue. She's going to talk to you about the subsidized and unsubsidized loans, Parent Plus loans, and private alternative loans that you can take out in order to kind of bridge the gap a little bit if you still have anything remaining. And then we'll wrap it up and we'll have time for questions.
As Katie said, my name is Sue Barber. I'm the loan coordinator here and one of the financial aid counselors, and I'm going to try and take some of the mystery out of loans for you. Common misconception is that loans are not financial aid. They are. They are part of the financial aid package. They include anything from loans, grants, scholarships to waivers. Whether you need them or not or choose to take them is totally up to you. Now, the loans that the students are being offered are federal loans. you have to be registered for at least 6 credit hours. If for some reason, let's say they start the semester out at 12 and they decide to drop 2 classes or 6 credit hours, they would still be eligible for their loans, and the loans would still be deferred until they were done with school. If they drop below 6 credit hours, different story. The grace period starts and repayment could begin. Every student is packaged with 2 loans from the federal government. Standard freshman is $3,500 plus an additional $2,000. The $3,500 could be either subsidized or unsubsidized, and that will depend on the student's financial need. The subsidized loan means the government's going to pay the interest on the loan for them while they're in school, and the unsubsidized, the government does not. The student has to. But on the $2,000 unsubsidized loan, it amounts to about $134 every year, or if they choose to pay it quarterly, that's about $34 every 3 months, about a tank of gas equivalent. And the unsubsidized loan that they receive, if they choose to accept it or not, that's totally up to them. We will assume they want their loans unless they tell us otherwise. If they don't respond or reject them, if they ignore them, we will go ahead and process them. And then I start to become their very best friend. Okay, repayment for the loans begins 6 months after they graduate or leave school. So if they happen to take a semester off, that grace period starts and payment begins. Freshmen, as I said before, regardless of where they go to school in the country or how much the tuition costs, everyone is offered $3,500 plus $2,000. The $2,000 is always unsubsidized. The $3,500 could be either subsidized or unsubsidized depending on the student's financial need, and that is the result of the FAFSA. So everybody's a little bit different. Sometimes that $3,500 is split between 2. You'll have a little bit of subsidized, a little bit of unsubsidized. As they progress in school, sophomores get $4,500 plus 2, and juniors and seniors get $5,500 plus 2. If a parent applies for a Parent Plus loan and they are denied, and I'll address Parent Plus loan shortly, then the student will receive an additional unsubsidized loan from the government. And for freshmen and sophomores, it's an additional $4,000, and for juniors and seniors, it's an additional $5,000. That's because the parents tried to help, but they were unable to do so. Now, for direct loans, if they decide to accept any part of their direct loan, the subsidized or unsubsidized, they have some homework to do. They have to do entrance counseling, which is an online tutorial, and they just want to make sure that the student understands they're borrowing loans and they have to pay them back. It takes about 30 minutes of uninterrupted time to complete it in its entirety. And we suggest that they give themselves plenty of time to do this because they are not allowed to stop and save it halfway through. The government won't let them do that. So in conjunction with the entrance counseling is the master promissory note, and that is actually the legal document that gives the government the authorization to send the loan money to the school. Without that, the loan money will never make it here. And one of the biggest complaints I hear in the fall when they're expecting a little refund that's on their account and it's not ready is because they haven't done one of these 2 items. So entrance counseling, master promissory note have to be done in order for their loans to be processed. If they don't do them, I become their very best friend. As I said earlier, I'll send out weekly emails to their NU email address. And the emails get progressively more harsh, all right? So make sure they get this done if they intend to accept any portion of their loans at all. Once it's done, they're good for 10 years. Now, both the master prom note and the entrance counseling can be done at the same website at studentloans.gov. And this is also the same website that the parents will apply for a Parent Plus loan and do their master prom note as well. So federal plus loans will not be credited to the student's account until the entrance counseling and the master promissory note are done. Okay? Now, if a parent wants to help the student and do the entrance counseling and master promissory note, don't do it. We don't recommend it. It's eye-opening, seriously. And they really understand what loans and credit are all about and that they have to pay them back. And if you do it for them, they're going to miss that opportunity. Here's the website that the students have to go to in order to complete their master promissory note and their entrance counseling. So in the upper left-hand corner, the green box, they sign in. They need their PIN number to do so, and then they complete their counseling, and then they sign their master promissory note. It's the undergraduate master prom note. There is a graduate student master promissory note. They don't have to do that. So make sure they do the correct one. They can go do it tonight on their laptop. I'll know tomorrow morning that it's done. And I'll download it from the government, add it to the system, and then they're finished. If for some reason they change schools and they transfer, they'll have to do an exit counseling that they've officially left this school or another school, and then they need to do another entrance counseling at the new school or a master promissory note. Okay, direct loans for parents. one of the most common questions I get from parents is, all right, this is how much it's going to cost me, and this is how much you're giving me, but this is what I owe. How do I cover that? How do I pay for that? There are two very common ways of doing that. One is the Parent Plus loan, and the other one is the private alternative loan, and I'm going to talk about the Plus loan first. That is also a loan from the federal government. It's in the parent's name. It stands for Parent Loan for Undergraduate Students. And there is no income or employment requirement for this loan. The application process takes about 5 minutes. And the Plus loan is fixed at 7.9%, and there's built-in life and disability insurance on it. In the event that something happens to the parent or the student, then the loan can be forgiven. So this one is for the parents. No cosigner required unless they don't think you have sufficient credit history or it's strong enough. They may require an endorser, but that's on a case-by-case basis, and you will know if you need an endorser. So you could go home tonight and apply for this loan. The portal is open now, and I will know tomorrow morning. I'll download it, add it to the financial aid package. We'll send you out a revised award letter. Marty will put it on their account, and they're all set. If the student has applied for a number of scholarships and you haven't heard anything yet, sometimes the parents will put one of these loans or another loan in place just to get the balance covered. And then when the scholarships come in, then we can actually reduce the loan. Now, the only parent that can actually reduce or increase this loan is the applicant themselves. So let's say you apply for the loan and your husband calls the office and he says, we need to increase this loan. He's not the applicant. Only you can increase it. If the student comes in and says, my mother wants me to increase this loan, can't do it. Sometimes they want a little extra play money, can't do that either. Only the applicant can increase it, decrease it, or even cancel the loan. So this is the Parent Plus loan. There's no income or employment requirement. There's a fixed fee of 4%. It's an origination fee, so allow yourself that 4% in determining the amount that's required, because you'll apply for, say, X amount of dollars, and the government will actually send us 96% of it. They keep 4%, but you pay back 100%. This loan is deferred until they're done with school. There's a 6-month grace period, and then you begin making payments. You have an option of deferring it, or you can make payments while they're in school. The choice is totally up to you. Disbursements, typically you apply for the whole year at once. We divide it in half in the fall, half in the spring. And as I said, no employment requirement, no income requirement. If a parent lost their job but they've kept their credit intact, they can easily get this. And again, it's deferred, and then hopefully by the time they graduate, they get the job of their dreams, and they can pay this loan back for you. Now, the payment period is typically 10 years. You can consolidate the Plus loans when they're done with school, and then you can actually stretch the payment term out to about 20 years if you want to. Now, applying for a Plus loan, it's on that website that we looked at earlier. The parent needs a PIN number, so if you are not the parent who applied for or is on the FAFSA, then you will need a PIN number. The application process takes 5 minutes. If you decide you need more or less, I can make that adjustment for you without you having to go through the application process all over again. So the government does give us that flexibility. The government is the lender. They have, unfortunately, I think, bitten off more they can chew. They are servicing the entire country. So they have actually enlisted the help of about 15 different companies to help them service the loans, and that is who you are going to receive correspondence from, not the federal government. So it is a legitimate letter and a legitimate company asking you for payment on the Plus loan, and if you have any questions, feel free to call us. We can check it out for you. Occasionally I'll get a call from a parent saying, I received this email or a letter from a company and I never heard of it. So it's one of the 15 that the government has helping them. The other option for paying that gap back is a private credit-based alternative loan. It's very similar to a private loan, personal loan, car loan, mortgage, standard credit process based on 2 years of income, credit, and employment. This one's in the student's name, however. If the student doesn't have this, and I would say 99.9% of the freshmen don't, they will need a cosigner, and that's when somebody can cosign for them. However, most of these lenders do offer cosigner release options, which means after the student has met the minimum requirements of consecutive on-time payments, they can apply to have the loan in their name only and have the parent or the cosigner removed as cosigner. So this is our preferred lender list, and these are in alphabetical order. You can choose whoever you like. If it's somebody who's not on the list, that's fine. And Any of them will offer you variable rate and fixed rate options. The Plus loan that I just talked about was a fixed rate option of 7.9%. This is going to be based on your credit history. So you could feasibly get a variable rate that's as low as 2.5%, 3%, but you have to watch what's the market going to do. Currently, I believe interest rates are rising. So it depends on your tolerance level. Do you want something fixed, you don't have to worry about it, or try and get a variable rate? These are education loans, deferred until they're done with school, 6-month grace period as well. Payments begin then. There is no penalty for prepayment, and if you'd like to shop around, you're more than welcome to do so. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a website, Elm Select, and that is a wonderful website which allows you to actually compare 3 of these lenders side by side. They give you the worst case scenario and the best case scenario based on a $10,000 loan. For example, Wells Fargo here starts at 6.9% for their fixed rate, and they can go up to 12.29 depending on the interest rate or the credit history of the applicant. So in this case, they're borrowing $10,000. Highest interest rate is they're going to pay back $26,914. Lowest interest rate, it's 18.5. So play with it. Go on the website, plug in some numbers, see what they give you. And the choice is totally yours. The application process for a private loan takes about 3 weeks versus the 5 minutes for a federal loan. If you decide you need more, you have to reapply for additional monies. They will not give us the flexibility of increasing it for you. Just to recap, interest rates currently subsidizes 3.4%, possibly subject to change next week on July 1st. Unsubsidized is fixed at currently 6.8%, and the federal Plus loan is 7.9%, and that's also fixed.
Thank you for coming to our session. If any questions, please let us know. If you think of something later, our office is always open, or email us.